Good evening, televiewers. Thanks for trusting My Media Prime. This is the 6:30 edition of the news live from Fengudron Bange in Douala. My name is Genda Pelgrin Blanche K. We begin today's edition of the news on a sad note. Former General Manager of the State Broadcasting Service, Javier Mendoza, is no more. Reports say he died today under medical care. His death comes days after Head of State President Paul Biya ordered his release from Kundengi, where he was serving a sentence for embezzlement. His health condition got worse over time, and he died at the age of 77. May his soul rest in peace. Away from that, Stand Up for Cameroon Human Rights Working Group has published a report on human rights violation in Cameroon for the month of March 2021. At least 100 persons lost their lives to different rights violations in the country, according to reports from the press conference organized earlier today in the country's economic capital here in Douala. Let's now have an excerpt from a member of the working group. They spoke to Lasha Kinsley.
The real observation is that when you look at the statistics from January, especially with killings, in the month of January we had 52 persons who were killed. In the month of February we had 43. And in the month of March we have 100 persons who have been killed. And these statistics are just the ones we could get, because there are people in the suburbs who do not have the Android phones, who do not have a means of communication, so we don't have those statistics. So we see that the rate of violence is increasing on the national territory, and it really calls for concern, it calls for action, because if it continues like this, we don't know where we are going to dip ourselves into. Each time we produce our report, we go to Yaoundé, we give an advocacy visit to the government, to the international community and everybody else who is really directly concerned and who can have an impact on it. We have all this information to the government, and we met with the Minister of Defense. We even talked with him, and they appreciated the efforts, but we are helpless. What we can do is we can give them the information and every other thing, that it is for them to decide. So we as members of Stand Up, we insist that they should react with respect to what we've given them. And if you look in the document, you'll find recommendations that have been given for each of this group of persons: the international organization, the government, the armed group, the journalists, and even the simple Cameroonians. The Canadian High Commissioner actually is one of the organizations that stands against the violation of human rights. And seeing what is happening on our national territory, they are assisting us to ensure that we are able to come out with credible information that will be recognized, that will be accepted by every other organization. So that is the role of the Canadian High Commission, Stand Up for Cameroon. They are really assisting us in all aspects.
Municipal police will now have uniforms completely different from their regular uniforms. Minister of Decentralization and Local Development has ordered a change of uniform for better identification purposes. This will also reduce the excesses of some misguided fellows who extort from civilians who cannot figure out the differences. More of this with Nora Kakebi in the following report.
Some traders at the Central Market in Douala earlier this week took to the streets to decry the act of impersonation of some municipal police as national police officers with the aim of extorting huge sums of money from them. In a quick response, the Minister of Decentralization and Local Development, Ilanga Obam, has ordered a change of the municipal police uniforms. This is going to be followed up closely by both the city and municipal mayors in the country. It should be noted that no effective deadline has been scheduled for the effective change of the outfits. Moreover, no penalty has been instituted for councils that will ignore the instruction at any given point in time. It should be recalled that in 2014, the Cameroon government, in a related development, had ordered some private security companies across the country to change the uniforms of their security staff to yellow in order to avoid confusion with the national police and other military forces.
The remains of a 37-year-old lady identified as Nganu Veronica is presently in the mortuary after she was killed and her body deposited by a stream in Nkambe, Donga Mantung Division, northwest region of the country. Fonquinta reports.
Here lies the remains of a 37-year-old lady, identified as Gano Veronica, discovered by a stream in Kamer, Dongamantun Division, northwest region of Cameroon. The body of late Gano Veronica, who specializes in the sale of beef skin in Kamer Central, was discovered by a kid doing laundry. Sources say she was killed by unidentified men and her body deposited around the stream, though the reason behind her murder is yet to be known. Hearing of the unfortunate incident, the senior divisional officer for Dongamantun Division, Professor Simon Quinty, visited the murder scene and expressed dissatisfaction following the murder of an innocent civilian in his area of jurisdiction.
And human wickedness.
This is human wickedness, and the people of Dongamantun believe God exists. You people should remain observant, because some of the people around us have as mission to take away life.
The people were the one for taking away life.
In a bid to prevent such sad scenes from reoccurring, the divisional officer, Professor Simon Quinty, warned the population against keeping late nights.
Say we don't want to see people that they walk outside.
We don't want to see people outside. From 10 p.m., only forces of law and order have the right to patrol in order to monitor security.
Only the forces of law and order they get for the worker outside.
As investigation kickstart, the senior divisional officer for Dongamantun, Professor Quinty Simon, called on the population to collaborate with law enforcement officers for peace to return.
The new commissioner of Limbe Central Police Station has been called upon to uphold the ethics of the police corps and ensure the protection of the population and their properties. This call was made by the regional delegate for national security for the Southwest region recently while commissioning the new commissioner into his functions. Details with Kuma Honorembo.
Yebe Simon Jean-Pierre is the new boss of the Central Police Station Limbe. He was recently installed by the Southwest Regional Delegate for National Security, Ndinga Jean-Marie, under the watchful presence of the Senior Divisional Officer for FACO, Emmanuel Ngamba Ledu, alongside top military and administrative officials of FACO Division. Senior Superintendent of Police Yebe Simon Jean-Pierre replaces Superintendent No Marshal Aristide, recently transferred to Douala 3 Central Police Station in Bonaberry. While installing the new Limbe Central Police Commissioner, Ndinga Jean-Marie reminded him of the security challenges of the region and urged him to collaborate with all the active forces in the city of Limbe to make his mission a successful one. He equally urged him to ensure the absolute protection of the people of Limbe and their properties, work closely with the population to make his actions on the ground effective, as well as avoid unnecessary abuse of power.
We have to ensure the security of people and their property. And we know that Limbe is a strategic town for our country. And we cannot forget that the head of state have made a big gift to the youth of Southwest in general and the youth of Limbe in particular. We know that the AFCON will be played here. And we need to make Limbe the place to be.
To the outgoing Superintendent No Marshal Aristide, the regional delegate for national security congratulated him for his over 7 years of loyal services rendered in Limbe, which earned him the confidence of the hierarchy, while wishing him well in his new post of command. Yebe Simon Jean-Pierre was born in 1974 in the Central Region. He holds a degree in private law and criminal science. He gained admission in the Mutengene Police College as a cadet police inspector in 1998, and in 2020 he became a police inspector. The following year, he gained admission into the National Police College in Yaoundé as a cadet superintendent of police. He has served the police force in several capacities. Prior to his appointment as the Limbe Central Police Boss, he was head of the Continuous Training Department at the headquarters of the General Delegation for National Security, a position he held since 2014. He is married and a father of 4.
The divisional officer for Limbe 2 subdivision has ended a one-month sensitization campaign against the deadly coronavirus. The divisional officer used the tour to caution Limbe 2 population about the pandemic, urging them to stay safe, especially at a time when the country is battling with the second phase of COVID-19. Details with Kumar Norimbo.
The divisional officer for Limbe 2 subdivision, Serge Abel, has rounded up with a one-month sensitization campaign on the fight against the deadly COVID-19 pandemic in Limbe 2 subdivision. Dio Serge Abel was speaking recently at the Isokolo Mokindi New Market during the last phase of his COVID-19 sensitization tour. Addressing market users, the duo urged the population to strictly observe the measures put in place by the state to curb the spread of the coronavirus pandemic. He equally reminded the population on the realities of the COVID-19 pandemic and advised them to always use their face mask, respect social distancing, frequent washing of hands, as well as the use of hand sanitizers. This year, we want to be sure that we will not limit people from their normal activities. Everybody should know that coronavirus is real and should respect the measures put in place by the government. We have seen many of them wearing their face masks, meaning they are aware of the coronavirus pandemic. We are educating them to always put on their face mask so that coronavirus should not penetrate us. We see people dying in other communities, and so we don't want our population in Limbe 2 to die.
If this sick penetrate, we plenty them go wrong inside the community. We see how people they die for corner for any places, but we no one make to our population may be affected.
The duo was accompanied by heads of services in Limbe 2 subdivision who were given the opportunity to educate the population on the COVID-19 pandemic at each stop. The one-month COVID-19 sensitization tour has taken the duo and his entourage to 7 villages in Limbe 2 subdivision, churches, schools, pharmacies, shops, restaurants, markets, public offices, just to mention but these few. The COVID-19 sensitization tour provided the duo the opportunity to encourage local tailors to produce more face masks to make up with the increasing demand of face masks in the communities. The duo equally noted with dismay the reluctance of the population to wear their face mask, as almost everybody had their face mask with them but preferred to put it in their pockets. He further warned that, apart from putting up a fine to punish defaulters, contracting COVID-19 is more punishable.
Inhabitants of Pondimun, a village in the North Division, West region of the country, are determined to let their voices heard in the land dispute between them and the Sultan of Bamum. The latter is accused of land expropriation as well as their traditional authorities of selling their lands. Details in the following report compiled by Audrey Zatza.
C'est avec fureur que les petits-enfants des lépreux de la léproserie du département de Koutaba se sont levés ce matin. Pour cause, leur terre dans le village Pondimoun, limitrophe à Fumban, a été détournée. Ils pointent du doigt le sultanat des rois Bamoun, précisément son Altesse Ngoupayou Inoussa, premier adjoint au sultan. Ils accusent également les autorités traditionnelles de vente exagérée des terrains. Ayant saisi le chef du village de Pondimoun à maintes reprises pour l'informer de la situation, ce dernier leur a intimé l'ordre d'attendre, mais cette population n'en peut plus.
Depuis un certain temps, nous ne parvenons plus à contrôler. On ne sait qui travaille. Chaque fois quand on saisit quelqu'un ici, on lui demande « Qu'est-ce que tu fais ?» Il dit « C'est le premier adjoint au roi. » Soit on lui a vendu le terrain, qu'il le construise, ou bien on lui a loué, il prend ça par location, il les exploite comme vous voyez là, comme ça. Alors, ayant saisi le chef plusieurs fois, le chef ne réagit pas. Quand on lui demande, il dit seulement qu'on laisse, ce sont les gens du palais. On lui dit, mais comment, qu'est-ce qu'il y a? Nous-mêmes, nous n'avons pas de place pour travailler. Il dit qu'on laisse, ce sont les gens du palais, mais on est débordés.
Pour ces populations, là où le bas blesse, c'est le fait que les natifs de Pondimoun n'ont pratiquement plus rien.
Chaque fois quand j'arrive ici, je vois que les gens ont occupé tout le site et les natifs d'ici n'ont rien. Voilà ce qui nous a un peu gênés. Voilà pourquoi je plaide au niveau du sultan roi de Bamoun, parce que c'est son nom qui est mis devant tout ce qui se passe.
Le chef du village de Pondimoun, pour sa part, estime que ces accusations doivent être soumises à la réflexion du sultanat.
C'est hier, lorsque je suis resté à la chefferie, j'ai reçu une délégation qui vient m'informer que c'est le premier adjoint au roi qui les envoie.
Répondant aux accusations, son Altesse Ngoupayou Inoussa affirme que ces terres sont celles de son père.
Est-ce qu'il y a un seul Bamou qui ignore que le terrain du roi de feu sultan Njimoudou Sédou, mon père, commence là où il y a la station d'essence à Mataba? D'où sort le chef du village de Pondimoun? Je vais vous dire, c'est un bandit.
En attendant de porter plainte devant les autorités compétentes, les riverains de Pondimoun promettent que cette appropriation de leurs terres ne passera pas sans désagrément.
We now revisit the epileptic nature of electricity supply in Lokbesu, Douala 5 subdivision. Weeks ago, inhabitants frowned at the dilapidated state of electricity poles. Today, they have a different worry. About 7 electricity poles have fallen to the ground, cables exposed. The cry now is for something to be done and fast to protect users of that path. Details in the following report.
Ignoring the risks involved, these individuals are going on with their daily activities as they would on every normal day. According to residents, these poles have been at the same position since a truck on top speed brought down about 7 electricity poles over 3 days ago in Lokbesu, Douala 5 subdivision. Agents of the power distribution company arrived the scene same day the poles were damaged, took note of the damages but never returned. With cables and poles occupying footpath, inhabitants say their lives are in danger. It should be noted that constant electricity supply is a major challenge in this neighborhood. Inhabitants decry the epileptic nature of electricity coupled with exorbitant bills. Going by the words of many around Lokbesu, this is not the first time a situation like this is occurring with little or no timely intervention from power distributors.
Concernant la lumière ici, Elio, c'est beaucoup plus compliqué.
It's really complicated. Today, for example, I don't have lights. I have fish and things in the fridge. Electricity comes and goes. When we call on a new agent, it's complicated due to the procedures. We are obliged to use local technicians around the quarters. When agents of a new finally arrive, it becomes another issue involving the police.
Life seems normal and most people seem to have adopted measures in case of any unfortunate incident, while others are doing what they can to keep themselves away from the fallen poles. Other neighborhoods in Douala facing an almost similar situation include Bepanda, Bonaberi and Koto. With the coming of the rains and strong winds, inhabitants doubt the possibility of consuming electricity for at least 10 hours a day should things continue this way.
Coins are becoming scarce in the country as days go by, according to reports from users or business persons. Like it is in the littoral region of the country, denizens of Bamenda, chief town of the northwest region, have equally expressed difficulties faced with lack of coins in circulation. Business persons and consumers alike are affected by this scarcity. They expressed the difficulties through our northwest-based correspondent Charles Kebwa.
The scarcity of coins in the city of Bamenda, like other parts of the northwest region, is more of a problem in the city of Abakwa. After paying items and in need of change, coins, you will have to stay for some time because change is not available.
Seriously, sometimes we don't even sell. Imagine that a buyer comes to buy it and you need to give that buyer 200 or 250 francs. Cash is not there. In the end, you just tell the buyer to go. So the buyer keeps moving from one shop to the other, and sometimes they go home without buying the things. And we too sometimes go without selling because of lack of cash. Because it will not suffice that you take your products and give somebody and tell the person to go and bring cash. She goes, comes, and then in the end, the product is not paid. So the best thing is to leave the product in the store.
Most retailers and commercial transporters in Bamenda now plead to customers to pay the exact price agreed on to avoid explaining the scarcity of coins.
I don't know whether those who allege that the Chinese are the ones taking the cash away, I really don't know for whatever reason. But I happen to have watched a video, I have a feed of it on social media, where the Chinese are actually breaking an iron container and removing cash from it. So I really want to think that that is what is happening because but truly cash is a problem in Panama. If you want to buy a taxi or a Ghana and you have a paper note on it, you may pay double to the fare. So it's actually a problem. And that determines what you can get if you don't have cash.
I don't know whether the cash still don't go outside. I don't know whether now the machine where the white man be bring them, now they don't take all cash go down. Because cash don't worry for the town so they no nothing for do, whether cash will do now.
A situation inhabitants attribute coin shortage to the presence of gambling machine and others to storage petite banks.
We've come to the end of today's edition of Prime News on My Media Prime. Thanks for being with us. I'll see you on Monday 6:30 for another edition of Prime News on My Media Prime. Faith Tata Berinyo coordinated the news, produced by Desmond Ngwa. My name is Genda Blanche. Stay tuned to My Media Prime for other interesting programs. Happy weekend and good night.